So I think the purpose for this session is to not keep it like a usual panel. The objective of the session is to really cull out insights from what could be, right? I mean, we have been watching connected TV quite a lot. I think we saw India losing, unfortunately, on the connected TV. Which other way could we have consumed that? Just saying a possibility, right? And I think just setting context, I have something to read. Picture this, a movie night in your living room, an interactive ad of a popcorn brand comes up, and with a mere command of your voice-assisted AI, your connected TV seamlessly facilitates the purchase, and the popcorn is now on your doorstep within minutes. Food for thought, like literally. This exemplifies the future we speak of, where connected TV is not just a conduit for entertainment, but an immersive platform for brand engagement. With the voice-activated purchases maybe on the horizon, shoppable CTV ads are already a reality. Roku, a frontrunner in CTV platforms, has forged partnerships with Walmart, and there are so many more that we can talk about. We sure have come a long way from the humble monochrome boxes, offering a handful of shows, to the era of smart TVs, where technology mirrors the intelligence of users. Let's talk numbers. CTV ad spending in US is projected to be $29.29 billion by 2024, a remarkable $36.86 billion by 2026. And here's the kicker, 84% of advertisers believe that CTV offers a far superior targeting, while linear ad expenditure takes a dip by $4.48 billion. CTV spending, the future of CTV, goes beyond video as well. Some of the leading CTV manufacturers have already introduced NFT marketplaces, and there is so much more that's happening. Now, that's the context setting. And what I want to do today is basically get various viewpoints. One, a marketer's view, a brand's view probably, a CTV user's view, an ad tech view, and probably a publisher view. So let's start this panel. Pranav, from a content standpoint, right? I mean, there are some great things happening. We have seen some of the most interactive movies, which were successful or not. The best judge is the audience, but you're interacting with Ranveer Singh while watching stuff on Netflix. Where's the future of content and engagement with audiences going from your perspective? Because I'm quite sure for you guys as well, connected TV as an application, as a presence is becoming more and more important.
So honestly, I'll take a little bit of a step back, and I was discussing this outside. As a content provider, we've seen a fair bit of movement. While a lot of marketing conversations happening today, from a content provider, we've seen this whole linear TV era where we've been struggling to get into distribution platforms, to OTTs, to every possible, and especially representing news and infotainment where innovation is limited, if I may say so. We've seen this evolution of connected TV come in, and we're seeing that you don't really, one side is obviously, we are, as a publisher, we're taking a position to say, we should look at linear plus connected TV to go out, and that's the representation that we are making. On the other hand, we have created brands which are completely based on connected TV. I'll give you an example of something like First Post, which we started in probably Jan of this year. We've seen about 70% audience coming from connected TV. So if we can actually create brands which do not need a support of linear television, we are a content creation company of a certain genre. We will continue to create content of a genre, and we'll push that out. It's the need of the consumer. The consumer doesn't switch off from news and sports, hopefully. If that's the case, then we will continue to create this content. We'll put it up on platforms which are there. Yes, we fought the war, I would say, of thumb swipers, if I may call it. Sorry, Romel, no offense to you. But it's pretty much difficult for news to get into verticalization, to get into swipes, to catch the attention, fight the creators. Because yes, they're more authentic, more oriented to a conversational style rather than a delivery style on a large screen, which most of our presenters, anchors are. So we see that evolution. We probably missed that bus to a certain extent. And we want to catch this one. Obviously, it's a distribution change, and it allows us to do a little bit of innovation. We can't have too many of those QR codes or too many of animations popping in between, say, a speech by a politician of our country. But we can definitely move to try and build some interactivity, try and build those comments which come up on, say, social platforms today into our space, and actually have that slight bit more conversation rather than just single point delivery.
I think interesting you say that, but I think the most amount of innovation that we see nowadays is in the news only. The way the news is presented in various channels across various platforms, the most innovation is there. And imagine, I mean, there's so many exit polls that news present. Imagine on your connected TV, if you could vote for a certain party, why are you depending on some exit polls? You could actually just do stuff which is engaging, which you could relate to, and suddenly you're presenting results real time. And I think, I don't know if that could be the future of connected
Trust
TV.
me, somebody will have to monitor that. You have seen
Who has
innovation.
more TVs? Right?
Innovation of storms and all and stuff is good enough for us for now, I think.
I mean, if in the smaller towns, TVs start getting distributed versus the bottles, I think that could be a beautiful future for India, I think.
You'll be surprised that actually did happen in Tamil Nadu. And I'm talking about, I was heading a channel there about 10 years ago. The moment you switched on the channel, the political parties' entire imagery used to come. It's like opening slide was that. And it was distributed across. It almost contributed to 40% in the traditional television. I'm talking about box TVs, not even like.
No offense to bottles, I just realized.
I was just like,
No
why
offense to
bottles?
Yeah, no offense to distribution of bottles. I just realized we have people representing Pernod Ricard. But Ram, let's move to you. You're a custodian of multiple brands. You're always actively investing in, those innovative, targeting technologies, constructing a very specific audience cohort, maximum ROAS for your people. How do you foresee the evolution of audience segmentation, targeting, shaping up, and how do these strategies are evolving for you, as you've seen that in the last couple of years, And it's not often, and I keep saying this quite often when I travel and across meetings as well, that it's very rare in 5 to 10 years that your media sheet has a new line item, And connected TV is that new line item. It's come after a very long time. Influencer marketing is one of those other line items which has been added in the last 3, 4, 5 years. And I think, how do you see this? Like, how do you see it from the evolution perspective?
Disclaimer, suddenly I've started feeling like a grandfather in panels like this. But, but honestly, this is the kind of discussion.
You said it, we didn't, okay? So.
No, and I'm not that old, but you know what I mean. But, these kind of situations existed over the last 20 years that I've been in digital advertising. And I'm talking from way back in 1999 when DoubleClick was known as Dart in India, right? So from then on, when I've been selling those to have been a marketer, the thing that you're talking of is not new at all. It's just that it is moved from one mechanism to another mechanism. Now, if you look at, now people say TV advertising and digital advertising. For me, it is a device, right? So I propagate that with my clients at all times. I do not distinguish that as television advertising because now, over the next 5 years, it might be very radical again, but the reality is that they might not be satellite television because every television that is getting sold today is a connected TV, right? So if you match that with the demography of this country, which is 650 million people are in the age group of who are going to be affluent going forward, but are between 20 and 35, these are the people who are actually consuming all the content that you're throwing at them, either on the phone or on a connected TV. Now, the family viewing scenario is only with the people like people who experienced linear TV in the past, but even then, because of the exposure in digital, the progressiveness of how to approach that has been learned 15 years ago, so I deploy the same tactics now. The only difference is you can't build cohorts if you don't have size. Reach does not mean results, right? So with a 25 million, 30 million penetration, the only sustainable model that exists in India currently is a DSP through Samsung, which is transparent in nature, which is very similar because the guy who's building it is from Google, and therefore what you get to see is very similar to what ideally a marketer would want to, and it's user-friendly. So apart from that, everything is content-driven. So if I have to do something on Hotstar, it's a pure walled garden. If I have to do something with Network 18, it is a pure walled garden. I have to go with whatever they got to say, unless they are connected through a DSP which is available like yours or Samsung or anybody else's in the market. Now, it's just another 30 seconds. I know we're short of time. No, but what I'm trying to come to is, if you have to look at these evolutions that have happened, so in advertising, there is content and then there is device. So what we are talking of in the connected TV world is, are we going after the content that people are consuming, or are you going to advertise on the device that is there? Those are very two different experiences. Because what you're going to see on live television is very similar. On connected TV, people are talking about World Cup. We had massive investment on World Cup. I mean, in fact, this is GDP's largest investment on a single tournament on Star with all our clients. That's how large it has been for us in the history of Mudra. So you can imagine the kind of affinity that was there for connected TV, and depending on the affluence and the brand which wanted to be on various of these platforms. So if I have to look at a Samsung, or if I have to look at, let's say, a Micromax or any of the other television sets that's got, let's say, a connected capability, that experience is like a DTH experience, right? So that's very different unless and until you're looking at the channels that Samsung hosts as apps within them, for example. So for me, unless and until there is a solution that is being provided by the connected TV world, it is normal advertising, whether digital or television. So when I look at the Hotstar, the advertising is digital. So there is no, because it's just 25 million. The moment it goes to a 200 million number, then all these cohorts, then understanding which markets you want to be in, how those targeting will work for you, will come into play. Till then, it is still a whiteboard. So I don't know where it is. You can probably write it down.
I think good points, Ram. And I think I remember speaking to CEO at a large top 5 agency like yourself, and we were discussing that. It was not a long time back, and we were saying, I don't know which one of us decided that CTV is going to be digital medium. If you'd have just given it to the offline guy, this CTV ROI would have been much bigger. Because you're not asking so many questions when you're spending on TV. So you're saying, oh, 5 crores, okay, I'll invest another 1 crore on CTV. Oh, this is linear reach, this is offline. No, online, offline. And I think somewhere if you look at most of the evolved markets, right, they don't look at planning on reach via mediums. They look at asset, which is video, and they figure out which screens it can accommodate it. And which is why programmatically you are quite penetrated, right? Most of the world is going programmatic. Obviously, we are also on the right way of sort of doing it, and whether it's the Samsung DSP or the MediaSmart DSP or any other DSP, the objective is to bring transparency, the objective is to bring neutrality, the objective is to move away from, the walled garden approach, because I genuinely believe that every ad dollar that the brand pays for and the agency is mitigating, why is somebody sitting there enriching their own data and then eventually charging a bomb for it and coming back? So anyways, I think that's a longer, different discussion on sort of that. But Atika, I think very interesting. Now the marketer's view. Oh, I didn't realize that we're on the left and right. Oh, very interesting. And you're right in the middle, buddy. We'll come to you. I mean, this has been put there, so I cannot not ask this, right? I mean, imagine a situation where, you're looking at your brand. And I think we are not discussing futuristic possibilities. As a brand, what would be your view? Would you want like the next vodka with the raspberry flavor, and if the advertising is happening, somebody has introduced tech. Somebody's actually introduced a tech which can actually, the ad is served, you can have the fragrance coming out of some random stuff which has been installed in 40,000 homes and it's a test pilot. Do you think it's a futuristic possibility? And do you think that's where you're looking at connected television, or you're just looking at it as, hey, that's another media and it's popular and it's growing, obviously, and we're looking at it from an instant standpoint. But where do you think the wildest imagination can go? And that's where I want the marketers and the brands view to come from.
So what you're saying is a dream come true for Alcobev companies, honestly. We are...
ASCII is listening.
Yeah, I'm serious. I think if ASCII is here, they should be listening to us. I think this is an opportunity to figure out our regulations, right? We are a dark market. We are a dark category. India is a dark market. We don't advertise alcohol. In fact, we advertise extensions. Like even for a vodka, we advertise extensions which are genuine. But the thing is, with connected TV, and who the people in the household, and the age demographic of these people, if they opt in, can regulations be such that dark categories also get a chance to communicate in a way that makes sense for them? So that's what dreams are made of. Now let's come back to reality. Absolute has glassware. And it is a vodka brand, but the extension is a glassware. And we know for a fact that India is not generally a whites market, it's a browns market, and we know we have a specific penetration for vodka. Does CTV make sense for Absolute? Absolutely. It did, and we did that with World Cup. We were one of the first brands to jump on with CTV on World Cup. However, because there are people sitting here from the other side and with the platforms, it would be great if platforms provide us with the transparency and data that will help us communicate better. Though we did create an ad that was just for CTV for the World Cup, which was not too long, brought about the purpose of the brand and would not be missed, and so on and so forth, it'd be so amazing if I could do that with the platform itself and then target and create multiple versions of it and target it on CTV. That would be my dream come true, like a realistic dream for glassware. But absolutely, yes, I mean, not just vodka, what about a beauty soap brand and
By all
makeup
means,
and
yeah.
so many other
Yeah.
things which are not restricted? If the tech is possible, and then I don't want it to limit to just like, DSPs. Like the platforms are the people who have the major traction, right? Whether it's Hotstar, JioCinema, you guys, yourself. I mean, that's what, and together we should just move towards it. CTV is a unlimited possibility, but we need to make that happen. We don't need to make it either into a clone of linear television
No, no,
or digital.
No, I think what I wanted to sort of picturize for both of you before, like, it's like imagine the Harman Baweja movie which didn't do so well and Priyanka Chopra, and we're in 2050. And I think with publishers and ad tech platforms, I think the objective is how crazy would your imagination for us. One is obviously to get the sanity of
Yes.
transparency and data, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. I hear a lot of these things. When there is money, there is everybody jumping in and they have the best data in tech. And I'm hearing somebody can target female audiences on connected TV. And I'm like, and I'm scratching my head. Like, TV is a TV is a TV is a TV unless you have some great capabilities, and which I'm sure some people have. They can target females also on connected TV.
Oh.
The TV can tell you if the person is.
It's female or male.
Well, yeah.
I would really be
I get-
interested in that technology as well.
I get the reality of that input, Atika. But Puneet, what are your thoughts? I mean, you look at this medium and I see what you guys have been doing as a brand, but as an individual, what are your thoughts? And futuristically, what do you think? This is a great medium. This is new. It's digitally connected. India is one of the most penetrated country when it comes to internet. One of the cheapest data plans per GB across the world. We have everything. You can order a smart TV at the click of a button. I don't remember the last time any of us saw a box TV. So technically, every TV is smart. It's just about whether you know to connect it on the Wi-Fi or not. What could be the future of this, right? I mean,
So I'll just continue with what Ram was just talking about. In fact, you also prescribed. Like if you look at CTV and the digital platforms, right? Other than it being more targeted and getting focused reach, there isn't much of a difference unless there is innovation into the platform itself. Now, if you look at purely from an audience perspective, all of us in this room, if we spend, and there's research which says we spend around an hour to 4 hours watching connected TV, but out of that, at least 30% of the time is spent on figuring out what to watch, right? We all struggle the first 20 minutes flipping, seeing what to watch. Now that experience is, to be honest, how seamless or easy or remote is frustrating, correct? Is there a way where your mobile is connected or mobile becomes a remote to your TV? When that happens, then you're cross-selling and cross-pitching, and there's integration of engagement with the audience and what you want to sell, what messages you want to continue, how do you want to engage with the audiences, and straight connect to the purchase and to the checkout is become seamless. So that would be one innovation that I would be looking at from a manufacturer's point of view. The second one is, going forward, all of us very soon are going to brag about our own AI assistants. That my AI assistant is better than yours. My AI assistant is much more wiser, is much more solution-oriented, much more cooler, right? So how do I get my AI assistant onto the TV, which helps me in various forms, be it consumption, be it tracking what my needs are, what I need to buy. Like for example, the World Cup, possibly if there was an AI assistant, and if the assistant knows that I'm going for a match in the next city, can I buy my jersey then and there? Yeah. So, I think the integrations of devices, which helps into engagement with the audiences who's watching the big screen, is what the future looks like. So it's a combination of device integration, AI integration, and the audience, whether the audience can be part of this entire journey and flow seamlessly is the way the market will look.
superb, man. I think I picked up a really nice one. Like, we all have phones, and then phones evolved, and then phones had smart assistants. We have one site called Alexa or Google, OK Google, and we have obviously OK Siri. Yeah. And I think that really is tracking your health habits to nutrition habits, and like your watching content habit is giving you the entire. Why not? I think the OEMs probably could have a play in building like that assistant, which is personalized. And I don't know what power we give to the assistant then.
Privacy.
It's a separate, yeah, a separate conversation for a separate day. But very interesting. I think that's a really interesting futurist thought. Rommel, you represent the generation. I mean, we had to write the password and remember it somewhere and then tell people about it and then share the password on like notepads. You guys were memorizing passwords like Aadhaar cards, right? I mean, numbers. So, how do you look at, how much time do you spend on connected TV?
Uh,
And do you understand, and like, some of us are calling it connected TV, do you just like call it, yeah man, it's my TV. I don't know what do you mean you're calling it connected? I don't know.
So very honestly, it's not long before we gradually saw the shift. I myself, started using phones at a very early age. Eventually, you move to tablets. Eventually, you move to laptops, and in a very seamless integration, you just never realize when you move from your normal linear TV to a connected TV. I agree with the point. Yes, it's sometimes for me, it's just like it's my TV. It's not something I'm really thinking of. Oh yeah, it's a connected TV. I do agree with that, but later on, when you do understand how it works, you do understand, like, yeah, there is a difference. Maybe there is more benefits to it. It's more accessible. It's more seamless. And yeah, to answer your question, how much time do I use content? I would say content about 2-3 hours a day, and probably on connected TV a bit less. I do prefer watching my content more on phone. So, but yeah, so I feel there has been that gradual shift, and I've just started watching TV, and it just went a seamless integration into connected TV.
I think it's also an analogy that I keep sharing a lot, that, I think COVID did play catalyst to the growth of connected TV, right? I mean, we were all, like, when we grew from the generation, we used to watch television in our drawing rooms. That was a thing, I don't know, let's not bring the age, but that was a thing growing up, right? Watching television on Sundays and watching your favorite Mahabharat, Shaktiman, whatever it might be. And then suddenly the mobile phones became smart, everybody had their own personal life, don't disturb me, dad, or don't disturb me, I'm doing my thing. And then we were struck at home with COVID, and there was pessimism on television, there was no repeat. How much of repeat of Kapil Sharma can you watch? You got bored and you just switched off because there was so much pessimism, people were dying. And then you suddenly realized, okay, man, what is this Money Heist? None of us are Spanish here, by the way. I'm the only guy who works for a Spanish company. But everybody has watched Money Heist, right? Everybody just watched Squid Games. So what happened? Suddenly globalization of content. And you realized, why am I watching it on phone? Let me call my family, watch it on television. And that's where connected television happened. And actually somebody called it connected television. For most people, actually, if you ask, and I've done that in a few forums, it's just television. They still have their Tata Sky, they've just not recharged it. They just realized there's a better way. We're still watching what we're doing. Our dads are watching it, parents are watching it. They're watching all the Sasbao. So, Romal, what do you think? I mean, is it for your generation, it's just like television, like we switching channels is the same way you are switching through applications. And probably the power of the remote needs to improve. It could be a much better remote experience. I think he also mentioned there are some newer OEMs which are having quite sophisticated remotes where you can play games and there is hand gestures and stuff. It's like the key. But what are your thoughts? I mean, when you look at this, what do you expect from your TV to give you more?
I mean, clearly, two great points that were brought up over here. What if you can just smell like the fragrance just from your TV? And secondly, if you can actually connect your phone and use that as a remote. But if I were really to expect, I don't like using my remote every time, switching your channels, turning the volume up and down, doing this, doing that. I mean, everybody has had that thing. Some days, your remote is just lying around the corner, you're sitting somewhere else. You have to go all the way there, get your remote, then switch the channel. What could be my expectation? In the near future, with the technology just improving, what if we just have gesture controls? What if you just don't need your phone, you don't need your remote, you can just have your gesture controls and, flip channels, change your volume, switches everything. And one might say that's an expectation, but I would also call that as a very near future reality. And yeah, it's very much possible. And especially, that's just one side, but having, for example, people who also play a lot of games, online gaming, it's a much more seamless and a very immersive experience that one would actually experience. And yeah, that's what I feel is my expectation.
Interesting insight, guys. I think another one, hand gestures, right? I mean, technically, Rahul, see how meticulously you plan this? Like, this is like a crazy insight, man. Like, getting a remote from there is like really a thing, man. I mean, it is. That's the honest truth. And I think if you don't get it, you don't get insights like this anywhere. We have a few minutes left, guys. I mean, I leave the dais to each one of you. I mean, what is the craziest next 5 years that you feel on connected TV from your perspective, from an expectation to build or from a expectation to deliver? Starting with you, Ram.
So the first thing is that this hand gestures made me think, and I was just relating it to premium cars, right? Yeah. Everything is hand gesture. For example, if you drive a 5 Series or above, whether volume increase, whether to move things ahead, everything is controlled. You can do that. So it's not going to take too much time for that to be replicated on television. And I was thinking technically, I think Apple TV will be far more easier to do, but I mean, in the sense the mass consumption will naturally happen through Android, but Apple will be the first one to probably do it, because in Apple TV, for the remote thing that you're saying, I've opened up the same app, and if I'm scrolling here, that should move in sync with the Bluetooth connectivity. I don't think somebody has not thought about it. I'm sure it's just a matter of time with the next release or something, which if you have an Apple TV, you'll probably land up getting that. So that'll be taken care of with your remote control. You don't need to move out of the bed or wherever you are. And the second one, and therefore that's user experience. In terms of advertising, I still feel that, the nature in which we look at solutions is still not revenue and profits for the client, right? It is, we still are looking for that reach number. We're still looking at branding opportunity. We're looking for that awareness creation and all that. But the size of the advertising pie in India, like we all know, is now digital has overtaken last year itself. And given that perspective, when all of this moves in 5 years from now, you will probably have solutions that you're talking about. I heard in an earlier panel with somebody said that, you should be able to buy something from Nykaa then and there, right? And these are not things that's not happening on the phone. It's still, you have those solutions. It will happen naturally because, it's now not like a DTH, which is a one-way communication. It's internet, and therefore there's two-way communication. It is bound to happen. So these are two things which I think television commerce is already there in India, but it's a very different style of television commerce. But that will be the first business which will transition into that mode of television e-commerce per se, which I think will be beneficial, because that's when, and we are seeing e-commerce advertising growing, so that pie will be the first one to push advertising story on connected TV, as you want to call it. For me, it is just a device. I will keep it at that. 5 years from now, there will be no satellite television. It will be only
Wow.
television.
I don't know if there is somebody representing that in the sponsors, but yeah, that's just a statement came from DDB. Okay. Pranav, what's your thoughts? Last few parting
Sorry,
thoughts.
I'm just going to dip into, again, content. I think this will allow a lot more innovation in terms of the content that we're going to get. That's something that we completely ignore, because currently to set up something, to get the distribution right, to make sure that you have availability across multiple markets is a crazy exercise that all broadcasters or content creators do. With connected TV, I hope it gets much easier. I hope we're not fighting for space on where our channels are positioned or the content is positioned, but definitely see that growing, and that should also drive innovation. It should not be limited to just saying that, fine, you are present on a particular network, particular brand, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow, if Atika wants to start something with bartending, I'm just using that as an example, why not? What stops you to put that on connected TV?
I'll give you a few examples as well when our turn comes. But yeah, Romel, what do you think?
Yeah, I do see a lot of possibilities happening in the near future. I mean, great points. I mean, everyone has just already said. I would just like to add a few more. The real-time buying. I feel somebody mentioned, at start of your segment where you said, you just see a popcorn ad and somebody just realize that a popcorn just, comes over there. I feel that real-time buying and, having that experience would be something very new. And that would be the future, I would say. Somewhere where you just see an ad and probably if, for example, if you know that you're going for a game and your connected TV suggests like, what, you're going for a game, so, why not buy a jersey before you go for that? And that's just one example, and there's many more I can give. But I feel, yeah, that's the near future we're expecting with connected TV.
I think interesting. I'll give you a little bit of the ad tech perspective from my lens. I think technologies do exist. I think they have been obviously, I mean, any advertising, like Ram said, is not done for the purpose of, I made a great ad, and I spent a few number of years at Puma, L'Oreal, Coffee Day, and no ad is made for the purpose of making a great ad, right? I mean, it's not for the satisfaction of the brand manager or the marketing company said, oh, we made a great ad, man. Like, it's made for the purpose of driving an ROAS. And I think it's super critical that that bridge between ad tech and marketing is well understood, right? Every advertising is done for the purpose of solving a purpose, right? Now, obviously, during COVID, we all became a little bit just more educated, because when we shut down the offline channels, which most of us are, because we're India and most of us is general trade and modern trade has still not become so big. E-commerce is a single-digit contributor to most verticals, except barring a few. There's app-first economy. we suddenly realized, oh, what if everything could be driven to that? Every digital outcome could be driven to that commerce. And then you're saying, what's the ROAS? And I think with connected TV, there is technologies like household sync, etc., which lets you see an ad, retarget on mobile, obviously get an action performed. But are we getting to a place which is super seamless, right? Are we really driving down the funnel? But then comes the whole education on privacy. Where do you stop? I mean, today when you have the understanding of the user from a mobile, which is quite PII and many things there, then you know which TV do you use, where do you stay, what locality. We understand the locality with the NCCS, which strata are you falling in terms of demographics. But then again, how does advertising become more ethical? But I think from an ad tech lens, the future looks really, really bright. I think a couple of examples that I want to talk about is, even when advertising, I met a very interesting lady from Apple, and she was saying that, why put an ad on connected TV? So Nikhil, we're doing some really interesting stuff that we're just making the ad be a live link which is connected to a live event of Apple, and which is making the experience so cool. So something like Pernod Ricard, like live events are a thing, right? You advertise live events. You can't advertise the bottle, but you can advertise the live event. So you find the catch in between, and the ad is running, leading to a live event, which is super exciting. And I think people are finding the ways. I think people who are investing and thinking, they find the ways in between. So I think that's my perspective, Atika. Happy to hear your thoughts, and obviously Puneet's to end the session.
Yeah, so actually, my thoughts on this is the future of CTV. I feel like it's going to enhance experience, like all the other fellow panelists said, but on both sides. We're just talking about the consumer, gestures, what they want, what they do. But guys, the medium works because advertisers are investing in it. So the experience for the advertiser, because ultimately it's bang for the buck. What are we able to measure? What's the transparency? And the availability of the kind of content that we can be in. You rightly pointed that we do live events, but is there a possibility of being able to target it to people who've actually bought tickets to Sunburn, to get another partner, get a freebie, add-on services, and so on? That's one thing. But I think the other most important thing is something that we, the caution is towards to not, sort of make it just an ROAS driving medium because it's the large screen. Let us look at the format of that particular medium. And that it's large format, it's to drive like aspiration, to drive your brand message and purpose and so on. So I think the experience, yes, both on the consumer side and the advertiser side, and maybe we need some of these walled gardens to, come up with better transparency, better sharing of information for us to be able to drive better campaigns. Puneet.
वो तो नहीं करेंगे, आप बताओ दूसरा alternate बताओ. Walled gardens तो नहीं करने वाले
walled gardens मतलब Meta और YouTube के अलावा भी है ना? You have Hotstar, you have Jio, here you have network.
Idea. I think Sunburn, gifting somebody somebody who couldn't make it to Sunburn, gifting them a live feed, which they can watch on television. Imagine that as like a CTV thing, which you are sponsoring, and it comes at a certain cost, and you can click on something, and it leads, that ad itself is the live feed of the Sunburn. Imagine that.
I think for a lot of youth who are not able to make it, it is amazing. The other thing is, of course, also the fact that there are things that you want to, you would need when you go to Sunburn, and being able to sell those and enhance your experience. I mean, it's
and the
easy.
payment gateway itself says MasterCard, and it says accepted.
Yes,
you're,
I think
you're at the live
he's
event.
plugging all our brands.
You're at the live event. Or last words from you.
So I'd like to just make two more points. One is on the content itself. On the content itself, if you look at the content itself for advertisers, right, it can be much more engaging if the platform like CTV is, it is built and evolved. For example, there was a show on Netflix called Black Mirror where you could choose your ending. So imagine brands start putting out a narrative. You choose your ending, you choose your context, you choose your landing. It just becomes much more engaging for audiences to engage with brands, right? And the second point which I want to make is, the gaming ecosystem is always 2 steps ahead from the rest of the world, or the rest of the digital world, let me put it that way. If you look at the PS4 connected TV experience, is way, way better than anything that we have at this point in time. And to your point, Nikhil, on the payment ecosystem, for example, PS4, once you load to your card, you can buy anything and anywhere, anytime. So I think we should look at the gaming ecosystem as at least a window for what's going to happen in the CTV space very soon.
Very interesting insight, man. Like, I love that insight. Actually, you can do a lot of stuff in the gaming ecosystem, and that's an amazing insight because you're actually doing it on the large screen, and you could make in-game purchases which can be delivered to your home. I think it's just a beautiful example as well.
I have a small trivia before you close. You spoke about COVID and the growth of CTV and all that. You know what was watched maximum on that device called television? Any of you know? Ramayana.
Yeah.
9 was the TVR. It has never happened in the history ever, right? So it's yeah.
You know, even like every brand was advertising on Ramayana. Suddenly the TG had changed. So sometimes,
And I'm talking of that Ramayana, 1989-90 wala Ramayana, the first Ramayana that Sagar, whatever, Ramanand Sagar.
yeah, Ramanand Sagar. Ram, thanks for ending with the Ram example. I think perfect way to sum the panel. But thank you guys so much. It is super exciting to have you. Romel, special thanks to you, man. Your first panel?
Yeah, it was my first panel.
I think there'll be many more. I think beautiful summarize, some great insights, and hopefully some of us will take it back and work on content, ad tech, advertising strategies, etc. Thank you guys. Thank you for this panel. Cheers.